Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is G. Cole, and welcome to Homegrown, where I get to share with you some good music while talking to some great people. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do, so we can keep you updated when new material is available. We will be posting new episodes bi-weekly. Also, check out the website Homegrown with G. Cole to listen and for all things homegrown. We're also very interactive. Please follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook at MyGCole. I also want to take a minute to large up the youth. You know what I mean? Want to take a second to large up the youth. I remember always hearing that, you know what I mean? The world's going to hell in a handbasket. These kids, right? And we can talk about it from every angle. We've seen the previous generation kind of mess up the reggae and dancehall industry. They ain't gonna want to admit it, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Kind of muck it up with lack of professionalism and just the way they do what they do. Some of it is lack of education, but whatever the reason is, whatever the excuse is, y'all mucked it up, right? And then of course now we've got the youth coming up that's pretty much winning right now. They're winning right now. And as I sit and I talk to these, and I say youth, I'm talking about, you know what I mean? The heavy hitters right about now. You know who I'm talking about. But as I talk to these people, what I realize is Ferguson Wagwan. What I'm realizing is that half of why they are winning right now, like Agent Sasko said, we're winning right now. Half of the reason why they're winning right now is because of employing professionalism. And as I have them come inside of the studio and chop it up with me on the regular, I realize that that's absolutely what it is. They're winning on professionalism. Because I do struggle a lot more to get professionalism out of it, believe it or not, out of the OGs, the people who've been in it a lot longer. But when we're talking about the younger generation right about now, the heavy hitters, the big dogs, the people are doing it in a major way right now, I see why they're winning, because they've got professionalism on their side. And I mean, got a team coming through with the management. If they say they're going to be here at 5 o'clock, they're here at 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? I don't get a call at 5:15 saying, hey, we're on the way, we're almost there. You know what I mean? And things like those are what have kind of crushed the industry. So I want to large up the youth. But I also want to large up the youth for their courage. You know, we can say their fearlessness, just their resolve, their wanting to stand up for their beliefs. You know, our predecessors started the job. And again, Lorna, how are you? And again, kind of lulling in the middle. You know, we talk about these so-called leaders, but when we look at it and say, who are these leaders that we're talking about after we lost the Malcolm X's and the Dr. Kings and so forth? You know, who is it? Jesse Jackson? Is it, you know what I mean, Reverend Al Sharpton? Those guys, who knows? You know, I personally can't chalk up any of the accomplishments that they've done. They've done their thing, and I'm sure they've had their impact in some way, shape, or form. But right now, I'm telling you, these youths out here are doing their thing. So I got to give them props. I got to big them up. Got to realize that a lot of the things that have been accomplished in the wake of what we just, you know, the horrible tragedy that we just had, and we're going to call it what it is, which is the murder of George Floyd by the 4 officers. And I'm going to say the 4 officers because all of them are culpable, right? Not just the one that inflicted the mortal wound. You know what I mean? But it's one of them situations where if not for how the youths approached it, how they handled it, how vigilant they were, how relentless they were. And to be honest with you, the word that we kind of shy away from because we're not trying to encourage that and you know what I mean? And endorse that is how forceful, how aggressive they were. Because the truth is, it is that aggression. If not for all of that, believe me, that firing would not have happened. That arrest would not have happened, at least not so swiftly, not so expeditiously. And there wouldn't be a glimmer of possibility right now that some form of justice will be served. It would have been another slap on the wrist. And we know how it is. People can say, oh, you know, I'm going by the stats, all right? If any form of business you're in, the stats rule, the metrics govern. You go by the metrics, you go by the stats, and that's what it is. So I want to bless up the youths. All of the youths out there that's, you know, our 20s and even our 30-year-olds and so forth, you know, even younger, that's just out there doing what they do. Gotta big y'all up, all right? You guys are major, all right? You have some other people that need to get some large up too. We're gonna get to them in a minute. But in the meantime, let's drop some more joints for you. Chris, the Montague.
I simply wished for one more day with you.
got you. I got you. Voice it from the top. Definitely got you on this one. We're gonna slide into some shots right now. Yeah, man, let us give thanks for you all. You know, we getting the inspirational joints on, the ones that I find inspirational. We're not just talking about lyrics being inspirational in the sense of what we call inspirational. You know what I mean? Pretty much a gospel joint. I'm talking about just uplifting words, uplifting melodies, everything uplifting, and that's what we kind of need right now. But I often wonder, you know, when it comes to this whole upliftment and everything, how much of this music can we make our reality? You know what I mean? How much is the music saying one thing and life showing us something else? You know what I mean? We have a lot of times when artists deliver messages that are less than inviting, less than inspirational, and it also reflects the times. You know what I mean? But what I'm hoping for, or we all hope for, is that when the artists that do positive music and inspirational music and stuff like that, hopefully that can have an effect on the times too. You know, if the negative music can impact the times, which we see how it does, we need to see how the positive music can impact the times. And we've been talking earlier how much we want to salute and commend the youth, the younger folks, for just doing what they're doing. You know, there's certain words that when it comes up with that negative connotation. You know what I mean? Talking about like globalization and them things. We don't like hearing them words. Absolutely not. But as the youth got together and everybody galvanized over the past couple of weeks, we saw, to some degree, it's a different form, but we can call it globalization too, because this is now an international effect. We're talking about different countries in the world: Europe, Africa, the UK, the Caribbean, you know what I mean, Mexico, far and wide, different places, different people in solidarity, just going for one common goal. And that to me is quite inspirational. And again, it is. I've seen leaders before, I've seen people before do what they do. And of course we appreciate it, but I personally, it's just me, you know, because when I hear the OGs talk, and you know, OGs always do that, they always make mention that their times are the most dire. You know, I heard one person say, you know, these people haven't seen oppression, and it's true, man, I'll tell no lie. It's a different kind of vibe, you know what I'm saying? But it's oppression nonetheless. It's oppression nonetheless. And I think we're also a little normalized. We're a little, you know what I mean? We're not that sensitive to it anymore because it happens so much, as well as, you know, it's happening way more than we think. It's just that the camera's caught a couple of things. So we're talking about globalization in a negative sense of the word, but globalization has occurred, which is the reason why the entire world is kind of mobilized on this right about now. And something that I had another conversation with, I got to say this: all the non-black people that are out there supporting the protests, the ones with that have the right mission at hand and are just out there to support, because we do have a lot of folks out there who are just straight up anarchists, you know what I mean? And people out there that are, some people would say they're planted there to create the insurrection, all kind of nonsense and stuff like that. And I do believe that some of that exists. Hey Gail, how are you? But for all those non-black people who are out there championing the cause, and that's what I talk about, the youth. Because when we look at our parents' generation, and even our generation, we all have friends that are from varied races, right? And they'll send you their love and their blessings and everything. But ain't no guarantee that they're going to, let me not say ain't no guarantee, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be out there on the front lines with you, right? But these young kids, oh, they in it. You know what I mean? They're in it. You know, the teenagers, the young adults, these young kids going out, showing love, showing solidarity. It's a different thing. We all grew up, you know, we went to college, we had our roommates of varied races, we have our co-workers, our folks that we meet up with to play pool, we meet up with at the sports bar to have a beer and whatever the case may be. But when the situations like these come about, then you're not going to sit them out in the front lines like that. You know, and guess what? You can't be mad at them. Not every battle is for everyone, right? And they may not deem it their battle. A lot of times there's conflicts too, because sometimes people interpret things as, if I'm not with you, I'm for that. Which you can definitely be here to champion a cause and not be fighting something else, or you can be fighting something and not championing. It's not everything is not that binary. You know what I'm saying? So, but these youths, oh, they don't play. They don't play. Your sons and daughters that are in high school right about now, young kids in college, out in the workforce right now, they're mobilized and their friends are right there mobilized with them. And here's the thing that we don't realize, and the powers that be will definitely not want to admit this. They're a big help too. A major, major, major help. You know why? Here's the deal. The views of G Cole does not represent those of Homegrown with G Cole, Jamaicans.com or Royal Zion Highness Radio. All right? If a lot of these non-black people weren't out there in the crowds protesting, they would have lit them crowds up a long time ago. They would have rolled the tanks up, that have ran over some people, that have shot up some people, that have been more deaths. You know what I mean? If they weren't out there too. But at the end of the day, that's a part of the populace that they can't harm like that. So whether we want to realize it or not, having them out there has made the mission way more attainable because of the fact that the governing bodies and law enforcement and so forth not going to randomly just start going at people because they don't want that kind of heat killing non-black people. And I don't just say white because it's not just white folks out there, but people are out there championing the causes. So from my community, from us to you, I say thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Now, of course, the ones that are out there with ill intent, we need y'all to back up. All right? Back up, because at the end of the day, when you wreck these neighborhoods, you go back home. All right? So, bless up Conway. Hey, Gail. But, you know, we just gotta be grateful, man. And again, we see how this impacts. The world itself is so small. We've had these battles for the past couple of years with monuments here. Monuments that you would say celebrate, embrace, glorify ill deeds, like the days of segregation. A lot of the whole Confederate stuff that's out in the South and other places too. And when people try to take the statues down, then you have the people who come out and say, well, my granddaddy, still at bonfire for Drew Brees, by the way, you know, and I had an employee once that I was sitting down and having a conversation with. You know, it was an awkward conversation to have, but nonetheless, it came up, so we had the conversation. For me, it was no different from, and this is the analogy I used, and I think it took it being this drastic for him to get it. Imagine you have two daughters and you have your father, which is their grandpa. And their grandpa put you through school, did everything for you, put you through college. Now, as a result of all that, made sure you got your education. As a result of all of that, you're in a good place right about now. You've got a good job. You're a successful man. You're living your life and you're raising your kids. Right? He did his thing. He did what he was supposed to do and did a great job of it. And maybe he was a great dad to you. Right? But let's say it turned out that he raped one of your daughters and molested one of your daughters, right? But he's still your daddy that put you through school and did everything like that. And you have a big picture, a big painting of him in your house. And when your daughter walks by it, she feels like she's going through that thing over and over and over again. And she says to you, Dad, do you mind taking down that painting? Do you mind getting rid of that painting? I know it's your dad, but what he is to you, you can hold in your heart. But what he is to me is tearing my heart apart. And I've got to walk by it every single day. If your daughter said that to you, would you hesitate about taking that painting down? And it's the same thing with a lot of these statues and murals. What you're celebrating is somebody who was good to you, but was terrible to a lot of people. This is how I am. If my father, if my mother, if my brother, if my friends were good to me, I'm going to love you. But if you were overall just bad individuals, I can't celebrate you. You know what I'm saying? I can't celebrate you. And that's something that people need to realize. A lot of people don't, but that's something that we've got to realize. Now, putting all that aside, we see this going all across the globe now. Statues coming down, monuments coming down in Europe. Monuments coming down. You see, I just like the Confederate flag, right? Yeah. Because it means, you see, the thing is, I look at life this way. There are many things that we do for sport. There are many things we do for fun. There are many things we do just out of culture. It doesn't enhance us in any way. It doesn't, right? So if your sport, if your culture, if your recreation is hazardous to somebody else, is it that serious that you couldn't just do away with it because it's causing hurt to somebody else? Instead of always looking at things as, okay, it's taking away your rights. Now, if these flags, because the thing about it is this, the people who are glorifying these flags and these monuments, they were not a part of that era, those wars, those revolutions, and those deplorable acts, right? They're glorifying something that was them, that predated them, that inflicted wounds that are generational going down. Because look at it this way. If you're looking up at 2 generations worth of so-called heroes, which are really villains, right? Why do you not understand when somebody's looking up at 2 generations of hurt? If you can look up and say, man, my grandpa, my grand uncle, whatever, was one of these guys, and my grandpa, my grand uncle was doing that, and you want to celebrate him, why is it that you'll tell the person who looks up and say, my grandfather, my grandmother was enslaved by them, my grandmother was raped by them, it hurts? You're going to tell this person, you got to get over it. That's way before you. You're taking on a hurt that's not you, but yet still you want to take on a celebration that's not you. You see, we only look at things from the end of the spectrum that we're on, right? And unfortunately, the word I use to describe that, it's going to rub a lot of people wrong, I wish I cared, is Americanism. It is unfortunately the American way. You know what I mean? Me. It's all about me. It's all about it's all about my culture. How do I pillage on others to make me greater? How do I take yours and bring it to me? How do I pee on you and tell you it's raining and have you accept it as rain? It's unfortunately the norm. Say this over and over. I've traveled many countries, many countries, countries in Europe, countries in the Caribbean, a lot. And there's a little bit of disdain for the U.S. from many countries. And it comes from the people old enough to have that disdain, people 50 years old and older. And the people who are younger that embrace American culture, it's really pop culture that they're embracing. The NBA, hip hop, pop music, breakdancing, graffiti, that kind of stuff is what they embrace. And if you think about it, whose culture is that? It's black culture, right? So that's what we're selling. Look at the mirror image of a place like Jamaica. What does the world embrace a lot about Jamaica? Rasta, ganja, music, and all them things, right? A lot of that comes from the less fortunate folks, right? That's the reason why the country will never get behind reggae music as a national push, because it's not something they can regulate. It's not something that they're going to be able to take all the profits from. If they get behind reggae music and push reggae music, it's great for the country, it's great for tourism, but too many poor people are going to get rich instead of the already wealthy getting more wealthy. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is. But I say all of this to just say, I gotta commend the youth, man. Gotta commend these youth. I've grown up hearing everybody putting all the great accolades on the elders. Some of the elders done messed this mess up. Some of the elders didn't do much. Them youth, and I'm not speaking from what I see, you know what I mean? I even look at a generation and I say, I was talking to another buddy of mine today, I was talking about the generations, and I say, people within the 10-year gap above me, 40 to 50, I have less faith in than I do in the people 20 years beneath me right now, in terms of 20 years old to 40 years old. I feel a little more comfortable, more secure with the generation to come, 20 to 40 years old, just watching how they operate, versus the generation above me, let's say 10 years my senior. I'm just saying, these youth, they get it. They get it. And, in Jamaica, we have the isms a little bit different. Our ism is mostly classism. I would talk about America with racism and classism because they have both. Fascism, every other ism you can think of, they have. But it's just, you got to give credit where credit is due. I feel like America is the greatest marketing scheme ever created, because everybody across the globe think it's a great place and it's awesome and this is where it's at. Because it's sold that way. It's sold that way. There was a time when Orlando was damn near the murder capital, and you would have never heard that because Disney's there, Universal Studios. It's just the way, I got to give props. They sell their stuff. They sell it. But unfortunately, we're past the point now where they sell stuff. And they're just straight up don't give a damn no more, and then just do what they do, ill-treat, pillage. Going back to the days of pillaging, of looting and plundering. Right? It's amazing when you see people stand up and say, look at these derelicts out here looting and plundering, when the foundation of this was looting and plundering. The people who you're celebrating with these monuments and these flags are looters and plunderers. It amazes me. It amazes me. Hypocrisy is a hell of a thing. It's a hell of a thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we got vibes for you. It's Beresford Hammond.
Calling. Where can the answer be?
It's called All Love.
Is there anyone out there
from the Never Ending album. The album is called Never Ending, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big one.
Yeah, I'm no one there from a child, I'm a future children. My nieces, nephews, I'm a godchildren. Now all the youths out there, G-Quill, send no one out phone. Joey, Justin, Millie, Marlea, Gavi, Christian, Caden. Yeah, man.
Baby, you can always come home. I'm never too far. You can always come home.
Yeah, I'm no one there from a child, I'm a future.
You can always come home. I'm never too far. You can
Definitely back, Kenya. Definitely back.
My love will follow you wherever you are. 'Cause you did not try to mean it was not a word. I did not cry, don't mean it did not hurt. I'm not the crying type, for what it's worth. Now baby, you're my child, been loving you since birth. You don't know what you mean to me. Don't let it be more painful than it has to be. I'ma give you wings, I'll set you free. I think there's so much things I think you need to see. But if this crazy world starts bringing you down, then don't say your word and don't make a sound. Home is here, so head homeward bound. That's why cars got steerings, baby, turn around. Nothing wrong with taking 2 steps back so you can make 4 forward, get it back on track. That's why I'm here, your daddy's got your back. You can always come home. I'm never too far. You can always come home. My love will follow you wherever you can always come home. I'm never too far. You can always come home. My love will follow you wherever you are. I know you get
Hey, Shelly.
but here is some
Marlene.
Before you make one step, you think about it twice. You will make mistakes before you get things right, but there is always day coming after night. and I don't know what is down the road.
Large up Canada in the building.
Laughing and some heavy load. All it takes is patience and a humble mode for you to break these chains and figure out these codes. There's time to work and there's time to play. Make time to rest and make time to pray. You stay behind, let God lead the way. You will be okay, that's what the Bible says. A humble child will make his way to thee. Remember, nothing's perfect, baby, nothing's free. I sing this for my child, so Jah bless our peace. You can always come home. I'm never too far. You can always come home. My love will follow you wherever you can.
G. Cole and the Raps and Coach Band. Kiki Walkwan Dallas in the building. Mississippi's here.
Always come home.
I sent this one off for my daughter, man.
Follow you wherever.
My nieces.
Can always come home. I'm never too far. You can always come home. My love will follow.
Check the words out on this one, all right? West Palm Beach.
Girl, I promise I will be there for you through
Jackson, Mississippi. Atlanta, Georgia.
you can count
Yes, man.
me if ever you're feeling lonely. I will be there for you, yeah. You can count on me when the chips are down.
Virginia. Representing from Clarendon, Jamaica.
Skies look gray, yeah. And girl, I want you to know that you're my best friend, and no tide could ever drift me away. Girl, I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If ever you're feeling lonely, I will be there for you, yeah. For you, for you, yeah. Loving you is a pleasure for me, baby, believe me. Just the person you are, you're making it easy. I'm gonna be there for you, baby, believe me.
Emperor Charmaine.
Like a book so you can read it. And I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If ever you're feeling lonely, I will be there.
Talk about inspirational vibes. EK, Bali. Thank y'all so much for rocking out. Empress, Kenya.
Girl, I promise
Gillette, Shirley.
I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on
Lloyd.
if ever you're feeling lonely. I will be there
Dara, Strong Island in the building.
for you, yeah. For you, baby. Hey, girl, I loving as usual, and the feeling you feel it is mutual, and you're so down to earth, so rutical. I will always be for you, always be for you. Girl, I loving as usual, and the feeling you feel it is mutual, and you're so down to earth, so rutical. I will always be for you. Girl, I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If ever you're feeling lonely, I will be there for you.
Jay Will on the Rap Sinkers Band, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, we got some joints for you tonight. As I'm going in here, I'm trying to multitask, and I'm getting the messages. There are some conversations, some chatter going on today on social media. Usual political nonsense. I have people keep asking me, why don't you bring on this person, that person? Politicians, we can talk certain things. I don't like politics, man. I think that's a little bit stronger than me not liking politics. I think it's repulsive. I think it's a dirty place, and it's evident. I've seen it. I didn't grow up with a lot of, politics around me. I grew up in Ocho Rios, and I've never saw my mom or my father really entrenched in that. I'm sure they voted, did whatever they did, but it wasn't a political thing where they were affiliated with parties and, we have a tendency to make the party our life. Whichever party you're aligned with, you ride or die with, regardless of what they do and how they do it. And listen, it's a job, too. People do it. But it's a job that you've got to be comfortable with compromising your morals. You got to be comfortable with compromising your ethics. You got to be comfortable with being able to move the goalposts for the agenda. You know what I mean? It is very, you see, the thing is, Lloyd, it's not even so much about staying neutral. I am neutral. What if I'm going to fire on everybody? That might not even make me neutral. That might make me an arsonist. You know what I'm saying? But, because it's not about the party situation for me as much as it is just the game of politics. Where people are pawns. And you see people who you see people who look like you, people from the community, go into it and become that. That's why, and I always say, it takes a certain personality to do certain jobs. So when people say, well, they're good people, but they go in and they became that, they had a room in them to accommodate the uncouth, put it that way. So for that reason, and a couple more, I try to stay away from it, especially since if I'm sitting across from you, I'm not going to just have you come on and push an agenda. I'm going to ask you what I think. It's not even necessarily going to be questions from the masses. It's going to be questions that I want to ask, and I can't deal with the sidestepping and the playing politics and the selling an agenda while ignoring what you're supposed to be there for. I saw something posted today on social media about the vice mayor of Lauderhill, don't know his name, Bernard, something like that, and he made a comment. I don't want to read it. You can go and look it up. But he's obviously not in support of, the Black Lives Matter. He's not in support of anything, and you don't have to support Black Lives Matter. Hey, Judith, but he's obviously not in support of the causes. He doesn't think that the problems that we say exist. He doesn't think that the problems that we encounter with the police exists. And that to me is either one of two things. One of three things. Either completely blind, completely oblivious, which makes you a bad politician, to what's going on. Completely lying, which is up the alley with politicians, or just don't give a damn. It's one of the three. So when you see, it's one thing when things happen around you. It's one thing when, get that food, Kenya. I'm all go on, blessings, Miami in the building. It's one thing when things happen around you and you hear about it. We always think, listen, what do they always say when you go to court? Well, there's no proof. There's no proof of this. You don't have any evidence. You don't have evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. But then when you come with the footage, then they find a way to say that the footage is inadmissible, or the footage, there's something that we're not seeing in that footage. So they're 3Ding the footage and seeing something that we can't see. And this has been going on for a long time. So you have these issues going on with our justice system, not just the police department, with the entire justice system and the whole nine. and they'll tell you this didn't happen, that didn't happen. But here's a part of it that I had to soak in the other day. Who makes up the jury? Who makes up the jury? It's regular folks, you know. So it says to me pretty much that there are regular folks out there that see things that way too, or don't see the things that are really happening. And some would say average man, regular folks have an issue convicting police officers. And they may be right. They may be right. Where just the average guy, regular person, they have an issue because somehow, some way you want to hold on in your mind to the fact that these are supposed to be people who, they're human beings too, yes, but they're supposed to be upholding the law. They're supposed to be the people who take the high road. You know, because if you are going to sit down and come forward with saying, it ain't working, these people are all bad, then you're pretty much coming at the whole force and everybody in there, and they can't have that, right? So we always talk about the judge, we talk about the police officers, we talk about DA, we talk about all that stuff, but what about the jury? What about those people who go on and still come out with another verdict? How did that happen? But back to this gentleman today, and I use the word gentleman loosely. Hey, Jennifer, after saying all that he said, this is what I have a real grievance with. And it normally comes from people who work with them, work for them. Securing that bag is what the youth would call it. Work with them, work for them, or are some way affiliated. They always come out quickly, way quicker than the persons themselves to say, nah, that can't be true. Nah, that's not the man I know. It's the man you know, and you know that's how he is. But the fact is, you work for him. Or you get the opportunity to take your pictures and put on Facebook and your social commentary on whatever the case may be and feel like you're somebody. And, you know, and you're an assistant to him, or he's your employee, or, you know what I mean? You're somewhat intertwined. So admitting that he is a flawed individual is you admitting that your situation, your office, your team is flawed. And that to me is where the politics come into play, where people can't let that go. Because like I was telling a friend of mine today, when somebody defends people for the wrong they do, be it politicians, be it an abusive spouse, be it your children, be it whatever, when they go hard and defend those people, no matter what the circumstances are, they're really not defending those people, you know. What they are doing, I'll let this sink in and soak in for a minute. They're really not defending those people. What they're doing is defending their choice to have elected that person. They're defending their choice to be friends with that person. The fact that they chose them as their person, that they voted for that person, that they selected that person, that they campaigned for that person, that they ran for that person. They don't want to admit and say, well, damn, I made a bad choice, right? Not even a mistake. I made a bad choice. That's what they're running from. Saying and admitting, I made a bad choice. It's no different, and we go back, I hate using the analogy, but we go back to the abusive relationships. A lot of times when you find somebody in an abusive relationship and they won't speak out on that person, or they won't tell their family or so forth, you think that, okay, the person has them in such a hold that they can't go. No. A lot of times what they don't want to do is admit that I make bad choices. I chose a bad person. And a lot of times it's not the first time either, you know what I mean? So no, it's like, oh damn, how am I going to tell my family and my mother that I picked up another abusive dude when the other one prior to that was abusive too? So a lot of times we look at it and we think that these people are defending these other people. No, they're defending their choices. You know what I mean? And it's for reasons like those why I don't look forward to sitting down and speaking with such people. You know what I'm saying? It's almost a little gross is the word I'm going to talk. And you know, the funny thing, is it just me? Or when people do evil things and people act a certain way, when you look at them, they just look the part. It's very rarely that somebody does stuff like that and they don't look the part. It's almost like they're wearing a t-shirt that says scumbag. You know what I mean? Very rarely do they not look the part. But here's the deal. There are other people who are there. You got people who, for every one person you see in politics, there's 10, 15, 20 people who are around them who are part of the gig. They're all getting paid. They're all a part of it. A lot of those people have aspirations to be that too. I've been learning recently. I didn't know that this is it, but apparently I'm learning that there are people around here that aspire and love being popular and being so-called big people in the community. I didn't know that that was something. And is it a paying gig? Some people just want to be known as this. They give themselves titles and they have organizations and all that stuff. And I'm like trying to figure out, because I'm going about my daily and I don't really know them. Certain situations come, you cross paths and I'm like, what is this? What's this organization? What is this? What is this? What is this? And then you realize, like, man, there's just aspirations to be somebody, and start thinking, I mean, what was it? When you're in high school, you weren't popular? What it is, you know? But it makes no sense. And then there is just a little fraternity in the communities of people who are negative to their one another, just trying to step on each other to be up top and to be seen. And my research, I'm trying to figure out, is that a paying gig? Because here's the deal. If it's a paying gig, it is sad that you're doing that, but you gotta eat, you know what I mean? But a lot of this stuff, they're not paying gigs. It's just, we talk about musicians and a lot of people sometimes, you can pay people in more than one ways, you know. You can pay them in cash. Or you can pay them in hype. And a lot of the folks really dig the hype. And what it takes to get that hype sometimes is to embrace, is to campaign for, is to endorse certain folks. And if those people are doing ill, then people are not going to come out and say, well, it's wrong or it's this or it's that, because they're speaking of themselves. They're speaking of themselves. So that's what's going on in our communities today. And that's kind of the reason why like I said, I have zero interest to speak with people because I'm not going to hold anything back. And I'm going to also speak how I feel, and it could come across a certain way. And the one thing I do not like doing, to be honest with you, is being what would be deemed mean or disrespectful to people. I don't like doing that. But there's almost no way to speak to somebody who does certain things, speak my truth, and not come across that way. Know what I mean? So, who knows? One day, if somebody's, willing to have a proper, honest conversation. I felt the same way about talking to pastors, too. I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with one young pastor, maybe even a little younger than I am. And he had the vantage point of a human being versus just being a pastor. A lot of times you talk to people who are off the cloth and people who are off the faith, and they don't speak English, they speak Bible. You know what I mean? It's like politicians. They don't speak English, they speak politics. Anytime you start asking the questions and you get to the point that they start speaking politics, and it can get a little dicey. That's why I feel like there's a fine line between religion and politics. With religion, they are teaching from a book that they've read and you have not, most of the times. And in politics, they're teaching you from a book that they haven't read and neither have you, most of the time. So it's a little dicey. You know what I mean? Ladies and gentlemen, we're having a vice. Again, I want to thank everybody logged in tonight, man. Jamming to the music with us and having a convo with us. It's more times, it's more music and stuff, but it's just the times right now. It would be reckless. I think it'd be irresponsible to not speak on what happens. Amoy says, hi, they are defending their own ideology. Yep, and our cowards to say so. Yep, therefore they hide behind these sorry legs. That's gospel right there. We just talk about the Bible, talk about the church. That's gospel right there. Yeah, it is. And again, you have to realize this. Yes, they are defending somebody else, but don't think for a minute that they're the same way. They're just in a different position. Because that's the spot that they're aspiring for, and they know what comes with it. Because most people who venture into the lane of politics, they see the dirt, they see the mud. If you ain't got the pig qualities to be in the mud, what would you do? You'd get out, right? But no, they're still in it. So you tell me why, right? And I tell people this all the time, expectations bring disappointment. I've never been disappointed by any elected official before. The reason is I never had high expectations of anybody. Never, ever, 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 ever. Nobody has ever disappointed me. Nobody. Because I didn't expect nothing. Right? We've got to make our own way. At the end of the day, truth be told, You being successful, you being broke, you being hungry, you being fed is more on you than those politicians. The people who are broke under one administration is broke under the other. The people who are successful under one administration is successful under the other. You've got to do what you've got to do. So don't get so engrossed and engulfed in this politics. Yes, you've got to make sure that you're doing the best for your community and your children and your school districts and all that stuff, but don't get so involved in it to where it becomes you. And kind of like church and stuff like those, where, I've seen parents lose their children, parents lose their marriages, lose their families, lose their homes because they spend all their time in the church. All their time in the church. Every 15 minutes, every waking minute they can find they're in the church. A lot of times those are people who are hiding from stuff, hiding from the real them. So they go in the walls of the church, right? Under which it's very, very messy anyway. So if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, just think on these things. And for all the people out there doing good stuff, because I'll never ever try to say that there's nobody out there with good intent. I'm never going to, people are out there with good intent. But my question for you would be, why don't you go somewhere else? Everybody always say, well, I'm going in there to make a difference. What difference? People have been trying to make a difference in politics for the last 100 and 200, 300, 400, 500 years. Have you seen it? And then how come after you go in, you end up being water? You end up taking the shape of the arena. So it's crazy. It's just the times. It's just the times, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you one more. One more. This one is Blue Fire and Yami Bolo. All right? Try this one.
Him take us all in captivity. After 400 years, our minds still in slavery. Giant was love again. Hear me free. Me burn down them bridges. Yeah, me burn out all them. Giant was love again. Oh, me black people there. Yeah, me burn down them bridges. Yeah, them teach us how to fight against each other. Black against them brown skin when all of we are brother. And them separate the daughter from them mother and rape away them confidence. Yeah, me friend. Foundation is your culture and it on the road. Eat your soul just like a vulture if you talk the truth.
For those who've already subscribed to the podcast, thank you all so much for rocking out, all right? If you haven't yet subscribed, remember, it's Homegrown with G. Cole. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, we are there, all right? Head over to YouTube, also subscribe to the YouTube channel, Homegrown with G. Cole. We put some of these conversations up there. We're going to drop this one up there also, all right? Lloyd, everybody, blessings, man. Wishing you all a great night. You see, we're milling in right about now with Blue Fire and Yami Bolo. I got somebody sitting down patiently waiting for a fire. It's a Jayut, the Furnace Burner. It's my place. She representing Oberlin, all right? Let's go.
What you know about shop down a square and ridge? What you know about river? What you know about bridge? She said when you're worldwide, New York and big, from Florida to Canada, Jamaica. St. Mary, Jobs, a lot of my place. Grand till Oberlin, that are my best. Navan and Kansas, Spring, ever lively. So no worry about for me, I remind them. St. Mary, Jobs, a lot of my place. Grand till Oberlin, that are my
It's Jay, the Furnace Burner. Thank you so much, Kenya. I appreciate you big
So no
time.
worry about for me.
Much love. Follow us on social media at my G. Cole.
We gon' slide, give a nigga enough rope, him serving my cowboy. Beans got the 9 greens, got the 4-5 in a real life like no, yo. Back to the mission, I done linked up with my cousin. Live in the flesh, Furnace Burner, got the buzz out. I ain't got number love, that's
This is how we getting out of here.
around the hammer, walking with a shovel. You know, see what I want, you know the word, please.
Nakikinig sa música, Homegrown with G. Cole.
Estás escuchando Homegrown con G. Cole.
您现在正在收听的是 Homegrown with G. Cole.
You're listening to Homegrown with G. Cole.
What you know about shop down a square and ridge? What you know about river? What you know about bridge? She said when you're worldwide, New York and big, from Florida to Canada, Jamaica. St. Mary, Jobs, a lot of my place. Grand till Oberlin, that are my best. Navan and Kansas, Spring, ever lively. So no worry about for me, I remind her. St. Mary Jobs, the lot of my bless. Grantil Oberlin, that are my best. Tabernacle, Constant Spring, ever lively. So no worry about for me when you see me. From the top of the hill to the valley city, we gon' slide. Give a nigga enough rope and serve my cold boy. Beans got the 9 creams, got the 4-5. In a real life, like no, yo. Back to the mission, I done linked up with my cousin. Live in the flesh, burner, got the buzz off. I ain't got nothing but love, that's all we show love. But to ever Corona, I'm walking with a shovel. You know see what I want, you know the whole place turn up. People dead all early morning, the thing corrupt. Straight to the arrow, not bending, not borrow. And it's so sad to tell you that there ain't no tomorrow. Sand in the glass of an hour, lose your life in a minute while it's ticking and it's clicking like a barrel. He done lost his brain, the whole marrow. Eyes like a sparrow, stay focused on whatever. Anything moving too clever to my cheddar. Just another situation, I gotta set her. I'ma always know that I gotta do better. So I'ma always keep my meditation one level. Yeah. St. Mary Jobs, a lot of my bless. Grantil Oberlin, that are my best. Tabernacle, Constant Spring, ever lively. So no worry about for me, I wear my.
Thank you so much, Kenya. Definitely send you the link, alright? Follow us at my G Cole. And whenever we come on, you get a notification, alright? Thank you so much. Appreciate you big time.
Tomato, potato, better you getting it yourself or you ain't getting no help. Now I'm playing the cards that I'm dealt. You don't know what I felt. I done seen bodies drop to the dirt. And I don't wanna see another murder. Every day and I the Gleaner, Jamaica observer. Every day them keep pushing me further. One thing for sure, me know two for certain. They wanna
have a great one, y'all. Blessings. Bye-bye.
More prison and them building more church. They ain't never gonna value my worth. No more freedom to move as we were. I promise these waves of life I'm gonna surf. All fun and games till somebody get hurt. Or even worse, now somebody head burst. Living these days is crazy, I swear. Yeah. St. Mary Jobs, a lot of my bless. Grantil Oberlin, that are my best.
Be safe, be kind, and be good to each other. My name is G. Cole, and this is Homegrown.